United States has always been a country of many religions, many races, many lifestyles, and many beliefs regarding where the country should be directed. It is a very special and different from any other country, since it is the nation that holds the highest different types of races or ethnicities. Therefore, many opinions and comments have always been coming up regarding the most controversial themes, such as the wages the country has continuously been paying, or the same-sex marriage, which directly hits the religion aspect. There is also the abortion issue that has bothered women the most since liberals have grown considerably. Legalization of different types of drugs or other substances, and the list goes on and on and on. But there is one topic that has always been around probably since the 13 colonies were settled. Immigration to the United States is an issue that has always struck the eye and the attention of the local community. Since people have changed their way of life in order to live to the United States, since anyone can remember, even a big part of the Native Americans came from Asia and constantly migrated to different parts of the country, conquering and killing off the smaller, weaker tribes that had lived in that particular piece of land. Even the so-called original owners of the country are immigrants themselves for the most part. In fact, it is so amazing that the country was built and constructed from the bottom up with different types of races that make up the United States. And the country has always been classified as benevolent, caring for other smaller, weaker, poorer countries. The citizens like to think that the country helps just by sending a couple of care packages and some prayers. As a Christian country, or at least it used to be for the most part, organizations go on missions that as their primary objective is to convert and bring people to God, or to the feet of Christianity, since that is what God wants us to do, right? Or it is their calling, or however they may call it. But whenever those same Latin American people try to immigrate to the United States, the response is a direct denial. The processes are long to even get in line. The fees are astronomical for a continent that makes even less than the United States minimum wage. The extensive wait they have to endure is ridiculous. The people have to practically give up, and who can blame them, right? When the system the country has set up is exactly set up for that reason. This is one of the most hypocritical actions that the country takes regarding immigrants. Organizations help or try to convert them to the religion that is supposedly the primary, but when it comes to making it easier for those people to have an opportunity at having a much better life and escape their countries, the organizations decrease considerably in size. Not only are they getting away from their respective countries to better their lifestyle, but many go through persecution, either from a radical group hurting their religion's beliefs or sexual orientation, being exposed and punished for it. The rights the United States citizens have not only should be a part of the country, but should be made universal. Unfortunately, there are only a couple of ways or loopholes that immigrants could somehow speed these processes up in a way. One of these loopholes is the obvious reason: having plentiful resources, something that only a handful of the country's people have in their possession and are the couple percentage of the people. The other way an immigrant could expedite or somehow speed up the process is having an immense amount of education, so very high and intellectual that they overtake the United States students. The United States has one of the worst educational systems known to science. The graduates compete regularly in level to third world countries. The scientific establishment does not collapse thanks in part to a secret weapon the country utilizes to a full extent: the H-1B, or so-called genius visa. In the United States, more than 50% of all PhD candidates are foreign-born. The United States is a magnet sucking up all the genius brains of the world. Without them, the economic structure would absolutely collapse. The jobs that these immigrants occupy are certainly the highest level of technology. There are no Americans that can take control of these jobs. They do not take jobs away from Americans. They create entire whole industries. The other type of jobs that immigrants occupy are the low-paying, hard, rough jobs. The jobs that one sees as extreme rigid-like. The percentage of the Anglo population is extremely low for these jobs, and the ones that are working them are in some sort of executive position. The question the people and politics should be asking themselves is, who will take these jobs when they deport millions of hardworking immigrants instead of giving them a hardworking visa? The single country with the most agriculture and a high percentage of the agriculture business starts with all the people who want to make it in the country, no matter the job or the low pay. Reducing immigrants would not only impact negatively the employers who would have to raise wages, but it would dramatically as well increase the prices of any type of food. Two job fields that Americans could certainly not occupy: the highest intellectual jobs that foreign-born students take over, and the lowest paying jobs, much lower than minimum wage, which is a supposed extreme low. In other words, America desperately needs more and more of these immigrants, not less. The abuse that they have to endure is something to think about. Immigrants get framed, stereotypes, and disgusting names, something very similar to what the African Americans had to endure in the 1960s and the early 70s. Only now, the media takes a huge part in shaming the immigrant that in that time was not available. How the media shames and talks about a lot of undocumented immigrants only makes things worse. The public opinion goes to an all-time low regarding them, saying they do not feel safe living in the same city or neighborhood, or that the politics should do something about it. Much more stringent regarding their stay in the United States. Racial profiling takes place towards Hispanic or another high migrating group, and most of them are legal and documented. A lot are even citizens. Not only do they get so many racial slurs thrown at them, but a crime committed by an immigrant, legal or undocumented, is a much worse crime. It seems authorities have set a standard regarding them and the way they may break the law. A simple parking ticket or a traffic violation may lead to a resident to get a much harsher punishment than the usual citizen. For a bigger infringement of the law, the punishment could go very well include some jail time, some prison time, or even worse, being deported. Over-criminalizing immigration seems and looks as an okay for all sorts of authorities, since they are perceived as enemy number one. And whenever they do go to court, whenever they actually face a fair and just case, the number that can afford a good lawyer is minimal. They are faced to have a public defender take their side in this much complicated case. Someone with nowhere near the experience and knowledge needed to even try to reduce the amount of sentence they may get, since it is no coincidence that these are no expense to the accused. The primary question that most people ask themselves, the people that are against this, the reform for immigrants to have a chance to immigrate or either stay in the United States, is why high wages? Why should they have higher pay than most people should have? Well, doesn't anybody deserve a chance? Doesn't everybody have the opportunity to fight for their dreams, to have an opportunity to even try to make it in the United States? If they don't make it, that's another issue, but everybody should have the means, the way to get to the country, to try to fight, to try to make it. And why should their kids not have an opportunity to get a degree, to study in the country that is predominantly the highest in having grants awarded to their kids, having loans awarded to their students? Why shouldn't they get the chance? Everybody deserves a chance, a first chance at least. Why should it not be a United States citizen just because they weren't born here? It's the most humanitarian thing to do, to give a non-citizen or an illegal immigrant a chance, an opportunity to try to make it in the country. Because haven't you ever received the chance?